The Lighthouse Keeper Chapter 1. The Call of the Light. 00:15. My name's Nora, 29, and I've been the keeper at the old lighthouse in Port Orford, Oregon, for 6 months now. It's 1992, and Port Orford's a sleepy coastal town, all fog and fishing boats, with cliffs that drop sharp into the Pacific. The lighthouse sits on a rocky outcrop, a creaky tower from the 1800s, paint peeling, windows salt-stained. I live in the keeper's cottage, a drafty shack barely holding up against the wind. Life's quiet. Check the lamp, log the weather, keep the foghorn ready. I took the job after my dad passed, needed to get away from Portland, from memories that stuck like damp rot. Solitude suits me, mostly that I'm not much for people, but I know my work. Keep the lights spinning, warn ships off the reefs, write it all down in the logbook. Most nights, it's just me and the radio crackling with static. Last Tuesday, around midnight, I saw a shadow move past the tower's base, too tall, too still to be a person. I figured it was the fog playing tricks, grabbed my flashlight, checked outside. Nothing but waves and wind. Didn't think much of it. Just a long night. Another shift. 00:47. Next night, it happened again. A flicker in the dark, near the cliff's edge, like someone standing just out of sight. I called out, voice swallowed by the ocean roar, but no answer. My flashlight caught only rocks and seaweed. I locked the cottage door that night, heart thumping, telling myself it was nothing. But something about it lingered, like salt on my skin. Chapter 2. The Stranger's Mark. 01:12. By Friday, I was on edge. Kept the radio on, some old jazz station, to drown out the quiet. Around closing time, meaning when I dimmed the lamp for the night, a man showed up at the cottage door. Early 30s, maybe, in a worn peacoat, hair damp from the mist. Said his name was Eli, a drifter passing through, looking for work. Heard you might need help, he said, voice low, eyes steady behind fogged glasses. I didn't need help, told him so, but he lingered, asked about the lighthouse, the cliffs. You see anything strange out here? He asked, leaning against the doorframe. Shapes in the fog, maybe. I froze, thinking of the shadow. Just the ocean, I said, too quick. He nodded, like he knew I was lying, left a scrap of paper with his name, Eli Tanner, and a number. Call if you change your mind, he said, then walked into the night. I kept the paper, didn't know why. 01:39. Eli came back the next evening, brought coffee in a thermos, said he was staying at a motel in town. I let him in, mostly 'cause I was tired of my own thoughts. We talked over the kitchen table, the lamps hum overhead. He'd been a deckhand, he said, worked boats up and down the coast, ended up in Port Orford after a bad storm. Didn't say much else, just listen when I talked about the lighthouse, my dad. How I'd found his old logbooks in the attic, full of sketches, waves, cliffs, things that didn't look like fish. Ever find anything in those logs? He asked, fingers tracing the table's grain. Something that don't add up? I shrugged, said, just old stories. But his question stuck like a hook in my gut. Chapter 3. The Unease Grows. 02:04. Over the next week, Eli became a regular. Showed up most nights, helped with small repairs, fixing a shutter, oiling the foghorn gears. He didn't talk much, but his presence was steady, warm, like the lamp's glow. I started to like him, the way he'd hum old sea shanties, the way his hands moved sure and slow. But the shadows didn't stop. Saw them twice more, always near the cliffs, always gone when I looked closer. I told Eli one night, after too much coffee, my voice shaky. You believe in ghosts? I asked, half joking. He didn't laugh. Seen things on the water, he said. Things that ain't got names. I wanted to press him, but his eyes went distant, so I let it drop. That night, I found a mark on the tower's base, scratched into the stone. A spiral, rough, like it was carved with a knife. Wasn't there before. I showed Eli the next evening, and his face went pale, like he'd seen it before. 02:36. You know what this is? I asked, pointing at the spiral. Old sign, he said, voice tight. Sailors used it. Means stay away. From what? I said, my stomach twisting, but he didn't answer. Just looked out at the ocean, his jaw set. I didn't push, but I started locking the tower door, not just the cottage. Chapter 4. The Logbook Secret. 03:08. By late March, the fog was thicker, the air heavy with salt. Eli was helping more, staying late, sometimes crashing on the cottage couch. We'd sit by the fire, talk about nothing, books, music, the way the waves sounded like voices sometimes. I liked him more than I wanted to admit. His touch, when he'd brush past me fixing a shelf, sent a shiver through me, quiet but real. But the lighthouse felt different, heavier, like it was watching us point one night. I pulled out Dad's old logbooks, showed Eli the sketches. One page stopped me cold, a drawing of the spiral, same as the one on the tower, with notes in Dad's shaky hand. Seen off reef, 1978. Not a fish. Moves wrong. I read it aloud, my voice barely above a whisper. Eli leaned close, his breath warm on my neck. My old captain told stories, he said. Things in the deep. Called 'em reef walkers. Said they guard what's theirs. Guard what? I asked, my throat dry. Don't know, he said. But they don't like visitors. Chapter 5. The Forbidden Pull. 03:40. April came, and the shadows got bolder. Saw them closer to the cottage now, tall and still, vanishing when I swung my flashlight. Eli stayed most nights, said he didn't trust the cliffs. I didn't either, but I couldn't leave. The lighthouse was my job, my home. One evening, he found a hatch in the tower's base, hidden under a rusted grate. Wasn't in any plans I'd seen. We should check it, he said, his voice low, excited. No way, I said, my gut screaming. It's locked for a reason. What if it's answers? He said, eyes bright. About the shadows, the spiral. I hesitated. I'd always been curious, same as Dad, poking into things I shouldn't. Eli's hand grazed mine, steady warm. I'm with you, he said. I nodded, heart pounding, and we pried the hatch open. A ladder dropped into darkness, air cold and damp, smelling of salt, and something sour. 04:12. We climbed down, flashlights cutting through the black. The tunnel was narrow, concrete walls slick with algae. Water dripped somewhere, steady, like a pulse. This ain't right, I muttered, but Eli kept going, his beam fixed ahead. We found a door, rusted, marked with that spiral again. My hands shook as I pushed it open, revealing a chamber, vast and cold, half flooded with seawater. In the center, a platform, and on it, something covered in tarps, big as a car, maybe bigger. What the hell is that? I whispered that Eli didn't answer, just stared, his flashlight trembling. Chapter 6. The Discovery. 04:44. The chamber smelled wrong, like rot and metal. The tarps were old, frayed, stained with salt. I stepped closer, my boots splashing in shallow water. Eli grabbed my arm. Nora, don't, he said, voice sharp. But I was already pulling the tarp, curiosity burning hotter than fear. Underneath was a crate, wooden, splintered, with faded stencils. U.S. Navy, 1943. Project Tiebreak. What's Tiebreak? I asked, my voice echoing that. Eli shook his head, but his eyes were wide, like he knew something. We pried the crate open, found metal canisters, sealed tight, and papers, waterlogged but legible. I grabbed one, read the header, subject, Refinity, containment protocol. Words jumped out, movement in deep water, territorial, avoid contact. My hands shook as I read aloud. Entity observed climbing onto vessels, 1942, believed to inhabit reef structures. Eli's face was pale. They locked something down here, he said. Something they couldn't kill. My stomach twisted. The shadows, the spiral, it wasn't just stories. It was real, and we were standing in its cage. Chapter 7. The Presence. 05:16. We heard it then. A sound, low and wet, like something dragging through water. My flashlight caught a ripple, too smooth, too deliberate. Eli, I whispered, my voice barely there. He grabbed my hand, pulled me back toward the door. But the ripple moved again, closer, and I saw it. A shape, tall, pale, its edges blurred like it was part of the water. Eyes, wide and unblinking, locked on us. Run, Eli said, his voice breaking. We bolted, splashing through the chamber, the door slamming behind us. The ladder was slick, my hands slipping as I climbed. Eli right behind me. We reached the hatch, scrambled out, slammed it shut. My heart pounded so hard I thought it had burst. What was that? I gasped, leaning against the tower. Reef walker, Eli said, his breath ragged. Like the stories. It's still here. I wanted to scream, to leave, but the lighthouse was my responsibility. And Eli, he looked at me, his hand still on mine, and I knew he wouldn't leave either. 05:48. That night, we stayed in the cottage, doors locked, lights on. Eli told me more, stories from his captain, about things that climbed from the deep, claimed reefs, sank ships that got too close. They don't chase, he said. They wait. Protect what's theirs. The lighthouse, I asked, my voice small. Or what's under it, he said. I didn't sleep, just sat by the window, watching the cliffs, waiting for the shadow to move again. Chapter 8. The Breaking Point. 06:20. May was cold, the fog so thick it swallowed the light. The shadows didn't stop. Saw them every night now. Closer, sometimes near the cottage windows. Eli stayed, helped with the lamp, but he was different, jumpy, checking the hatch like it might open on its own. We found more papers in the attic, old Navy reports, stamped, classified. They talked about Project Tidebreak, experiments in the 40s, trying to trap something they found on the reef. Entity exhibits awareness, one said. Responds to intrusion. One night, the foghorn failed. I went to the tower, Eli behind me, and found the gears jammed, scratched with that spiral mark. It's here, I said, my voice shaking. Inside. Eli nodded, his hand on my shoulder. We need to leave, Nora. Now. But I couldn't. The lighthouse was all I had left of Dad, of me. I'm not running, I said. Not yet. He looked at me, eyes dark. Then we face it together. Chapter 9. The Confrontation. 07:24. By June, the lighthouse felt alive, like it was breathing. The shadows were constant, ripples in the fog, eyes watching from the cliffs. We found a radio in the attic, old Navy issue, still working. Eli fiddled with it, caught a signal, static, then a voice, low, repeating, tide break active. Containment breached. We stared at each other, my hands cold, his face grim. We opened the hatch, I said. We woke it, Eli nodded. We need to seal it, or it'll come for the town. We went back to the hatch, armed with tools, a crowbar, anything we could carry. The chamber was darker now, the water deeper, the crate gone. The shape was there, waiting, its pale form half submerged. It didn't move, just watched, its eyes like holes in the dark. I raised the crowbar, my hands shaking, but Eli pulled me back. Don't, he whispered. It's not fighting. It's warning. We backed away, sealed the hatch with bolts, prayed it'd hold. But the air felt wrong, heavy, like we'd only delayed it. Chapter 10. The Keeper's Burden. 08:28. It's 1993 now, a year since Eli first knocked on my door. We're still here, still keeping the light, though the town thinks we're crazy, staying out here with the fog and the shadows. The hatch is sealed, but the ripples haven't stopped. I see them sometimes, out on the reef, tall and pale, watching. Eli stays, sleeps in the cottage, his hand finding mine in the dark. We don't talk about love, not really, but it's there, in the way he fixes the foghorn, the way I make him coffee at dawn. The lighthouse is my home, my curse. I found Dad's last log entry, dated 1980. It knows me. It waits. I think he saw it too, the reef walker, and it broke him. I won't let it break me. Eli and I, we keep the lamp burning, keep the ship safe. But I know it's down there, under the cliffs, waiting. I should have left, should have run, but I can't. It's my watch now, my burden. And as I stand in the tower, the light spinning, Eli's hand on my shoulder, I know it's enough. For now. Conclusion. The weight of the light. 08:30. It's 1996 now, 3 years since Eli and I sealed the hatch under the lighthouse in Port Orford, Oregon. I'm 32, still the keeper, still waking to the sound of waves crashing against the cliffs, the foghorn's low moan cutting through the morning mist. The lighthouse stands, weathered but stubborn, its lamp spinning every night, guiding ships away from the reefs. Eli's still here, living in the keeper's cottage with me, his tools scattered across the kitchen table, his peacoat hanging by the door. We've got a dog now, a scrappy mutt we call Drift, who barks at the fog like it's alive. Port Orford's the same, small, quiet, with fishermen who nod at us in town but whisper when we pass. They know we stay out here, alone with the cliffs and the sea, and they think we're strange for it. Maybe we are. But this place, this light, It's ours, and I can't let it go. Even if it's killing me slow. 08:52 the past 3 years have been a grind, like sand wearing down stone. We keep the lighthouse running, clean the lens, oil the gears, log the weather. Eli's taken to it, learned the routines, though he's still more sailor than keeper, his hands rough from years on boats. He fixes what breaks, patches the cottage roof when storms tear through, hums shanties when the nights get long. I handle the logs, the paperwork, the endless reports to the Coast Guard, who barely check on us anymore. We're a relic, they say, a holdover from a time when lighthouses mattered. But I know better. This place matters, not just for the ships, but for what's below, what we keep locked away. The reef walker's still here. I see it sometimes, a pale shape in the fog, standing on the reef at low tide. It doesn't move closer, doesn't chase, just watches, its eyes like holes in the mist. Eli sees it too, though he doesn't say much, just grips my hand tighter when we're out checking the cliffs. We don't talk about the hatch, but it's there, under the tower, bolted shut, a secret we carry like a scar. The town doesn't know, and we don't tell them. What could we say? That there's something down there, something old, something that doesn't belong? They'd laugh, or worse, they'd come looking. 09:14 we've made a life here. Eli and I. It's not easy. Money's tight. The cottage leaks, and the winters are brutal, wind rattling the windows like it wants in. We fight sometimes, sharp words over small things, like when I leave dishes in the sink or he forgets to log the lamp hours. We're supposed to be a team, Nora, he said once, his voice low, when I stayed up all night reading Dad's old logbooks instead of sleeping. I snapped back, said I was trying to understand, to keep us safe. He didn't talk to me for a day, but then he brought me coffee, black, no sugar, and we sat on the porch, drifted our feet, letting the silence fix us. That's how we are, messy, stubborn, but together. Eli's changed, though. He's quieter now, his eyes scanning the horizon like he's waiting for something. He still tells stories about his days on fishing boats, storms that nearly sank him, but there's a weight to him, like he's carrying the reef walker in his bones. I see it when he checks the hatch, every week, like a ritual, running his hands over the bolts, making sure they hold. It's still there, he'll say, and I nod because I know. I feel it too, a hum in the air, a pressure that never leaves. 09:36 My dad's logbooks are my obsession. I keep them in a box under the bed, pages brittle, ink fading. I read them when Eli's asleep, looking for answers, for anything that explains what we saw. There's more than I told him. Entries from the 70s, sketches of the spiral mark, notes about tide break and reef entities. One entry, dated 1979, chills me every time. It spoke. Not words, but I heard it. Wants the light out. I haven't shown Eli that one. Don't know if I can. He's already on edge, and I'm scared it'd break him. Like it broke Dad. The town's changing, too. New docks going up, tourists coming for whale watching, motels popping up along the coast. It's good for Port Orford, but it makes me nervous. More people means more questions, more eyes on the lighthouse. Last summer, a kid from town, maybe 16, climbed the cliff path, asking about ghost stories. I sent him away, said it was just fog and old tales, but his eyes lingered on the tower, like he knew something. Eli watched him leave, his hand on the crowbar we keep by the door. 10:00 We've had worse scares. 2 years ago, the foghorn went silent, same as before, gears scratched with that spiral mark again. We fixed it, stayed up all night, but the air felt wrong, thick, like the reef walker was closer than ever. Eli wanted to leave then, said we could go inland, start over. We don't owe this place anything, he said, his voice sharp. But I couldn't. The lighthouse is my dad's, mine, and leaving feels like letting it win. Eli stayed, because of me, I think. Sometimes I wonder if he regrets it, but he never says. That last fall, we found a new mark, carved on the cottage door, same spiral, fresh, like it was done in the night. Eli sanded it off, didn't talk for hours after. I wanted to ask what he thought, but his silence said enough. We don't talk about the reef walker much, but it's there, in the way we lock every door, the way we jump when drift barks at nothing. It's not just a creature. It's a weight, a shadow that never leaves. 10:22 Despite it all, we've built something. The cottage is home, cluttered with Eli's fishing gear, my books, Drift's chewed-up toys. We've got routines, coffee at dawn, checking the lamp at dusk, walking the cliffs when the fog lifts. Eli's teaching me to fish, though I'm terrible, always tangling the line. He laughs, calls me landlubber, and I shove him, feeling lighter for a moment. We're not married, not even close to talking about it. But there's a closeness, a quiet love in the way he looks at me, the way I lean into him when the nights get cold. The lighthouse is busier now, too. I've started giving tours, just a few, to keep the Coast Guard off our backs. Tourists love the old tower, the creaky stairs, the stories I tell, safe ones, about storms and shipwrecks. Eli hangs back, watching, his eyes sharp when anyone lingers near the hatch. The locals respect us, mostly. Captain Dan, who runs the docks, brings us fish sometimes, says we're keepers of the old ways. I smile, but I know he doesn't get it. No one does. Point 10:44. We talk about the future sometimes, late at night, the ocean roaring outside. Eli wants to fix up a boat, sail south, maybe to California. I want to keep the lighthouse running, maybe write a book about it, leaving out the parts no one would believe. We don't talk about kids, not with the reef walker down there. I think about Dad, how he stayed too long, how the light consumed him. I wonder if it'll consume me too. Eli says I'm stronger, says we're stronger, but I see the worry in his eyes, the way he checks the hatch, the cliffs, the sea. Port Orford's growing, new houses creeping closer to the cliffs. It's good for the town, but it scares me. More people, more chances someone finds the hatch, asks questions. Last month, a Coast Guard officer came by, asked about the old Navy reports, said they'd found irregularities in our logs. I played dumb, said it was just old equipment, but he looked at the tower like he knew something. Eli was quiet after, his hands tight on his coffee mug. Point 11:06. The reef walker's bolder now. Saw it last week, standing on the reef, closer than ever, its shape sharp against the fog. It didn't move, just watched, but I felt it, like a hum in my chest. Eli saw it too, grabbed the crowbar, stood by the door all night. We can't keep doing this, he said, his voice low. It's not just watching anymore. What do we do? I asked, my throat tight. We stay, he said, his hand on mine. Or we run. Your call. I didn't answer, just sat there, the lamp spinning above us. I can't leave, not yet. The lighthouse is my dad's, my home, my curse. But I'm scared, more than I admit. Scared of what's down there, what it wants, why it lets us stay. 11:28 last night, we found a new paper in the attic, tucked in a Navy folder, dated 1944. Project Tidebreak. Termination order. It said they tried to destroy the reef walker, bombs, chemicals, nothing worked. Entity persists. Containment only option. There was a note, handwritten, not Dad's. It wants the light. Always has. I showed Eli, and he went pale, like he'd known all along. We can't stay forever, he said, his voice barely there. I know, I said, my hands shaking. But I can't let it win. He nodded, pulled me close, his arms warm against the cold. We didn't sleep, just sat by the fire, drift snoring at our feet, the ocean's roar outside. I thought about Dad, his logbooks, his warnings. I thought about the reef walker, its eyes, its patience. I thought about Eli, his hand in mine, and how we'd built a life here. Fragile but real. 11:50 today. The fog's thick, the light barely cutting through. We're still here, still keeping the lamp, though the Coast Guard's talking about automating the lighthouse, shutting us down. I don't know what'll happen if they do. The hatch is still sealed, but the spiral marks keep showing up, on the cliffs, the cottage, once on the lamp itself. Eli sands them off, doesn't talk about it, but I see the fear in his eyes, same as mine. The town's buzzing with new faces, tourists, developers sniffing around. Captain Dan says they want to turn the cliffs into a park, build trails right over the hatch. I told him it's a bad idea, said the cliffs are unstable, but he just laughed, said I worry too much. I didn't tell him about the reef walker, the papers, the way the air hums when it's close. I can't. No one would believe me. 12:12 Eli's talking about leaving again. Says we could go to Seattle, start fresh. I want to sometimes, but the lighthouse pulls me back, like it's part of me. I found another log entry last week, Dad's last, 1981. It knows my name. I hear it in the waves. I haven't told Eli, don't want to scare him more. But I hear it too. Sometimes, a low murmur in the water, not words, but something close. It's not angry, not like I thought. It's waiting, patient, like it knows I'll come to it eventually. Eli's my anchor, though. He stays, even when he shouldn't, even when I see the strain in his face, the way he checks the hatch, the cliffs, the sea. We're stronger than it, he said last night, his hand on my cheek. We have to be. I nodded, but I'm not sure. The reef walker's old, older than the lighthouse, older than the town. It's patient, and we're not. We're human, fragile, tied to this place by duty, by fear, by something I can't name. 12:34 this morning. Drift barked at the cliffs, his hackles up, staring at nothing. I went out, flashlight in hand, Eli behind me. The spiral was there, carved fresh on a rock, bigger than before. I touched it, my fingers shaking, and felt the hum, stronger now, like a pulse under the stone. Eli pulled me back, his voice sharp. Don't, Nora. Don't give it anything. I'm not, I said, but my voice was weak. I felt it, the pull, like the sea was calling me down, into the dark. I didn't tell him, but I've dreamed about it, the reef walker, its eyes, its shape moving through water. It doesn't want to kill me, I don't think. It wants something else, something I don't understand. 12:56 We still here, still keeping the light. The Coast Guard's coming next week, talking about inspections, upgrades. I don't know what they'll find, if they'll see the marks, feel the hum. Eli says we should tell them, warn them, but I can't. They'll think we're crazy, lock us up, or worse, open the hatch. I can't let that happen. Not after Dad. Not after everything. Eli's asleep now, on the couch, Drift curled up beside him. I'm in the tower, the lamp spinning, the fog thick outside. I can hear the waves, the murmur, the hum. It's louder now, closer. I look out at the reef, see the shape, tall and pale, standing still. It doesn't move, just watches, like it's always watched. I should be scared, but I'm not. Not anymore. It's part of this place. Part of me. 13:18 I think about Dad, how he stayed, how he wrote those logs, how he heard it too. I think about Eli, his hand in mine, his quiet strength. I think about the lighthouse, the light, the weight of keeping it burning. We've built a life here, Eli and I, out of fog and fear and stubborn love. It's not perfect, not safe, but it's ours. And as I stand here, the lamp humming above me, the sea whispering below, I know I'll stay. Not because I have to, but because I choose to. Because someone has to keep the light, to hold the line against what's down there. And for now, with Eli beside me, it's enough.